Stephen Harrington, Precinct 13. I'm going to talk about sort of a high-level stuff. I'm going to ask some questions, although I didn't intend to tonight. And I'm just going to point out a couple things to you. If you look at your green book, and on page B11, which is the budget that we're currently on, number 20, the education budget, and you look in the box, it shows fiscal year 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. And I'm assuming this is the town appropriation. And you can see under fiscal year 2013, it's hard to read, 44 million and change. And under fiscal year 2011, I see a number that's, pardon me a second, it's 38,591,000, right? So remember that for a minute, 38,591,000. Mr. Good, would you please put up on the screen, if you have your other budget book from the school department, this one here, if you, there's a lot of great things about our kids in here, and I applaud you all for having such great children. But if you look at page 35 on the book, it's good, could you put it up on the screen for me, please? Could you make it a little larger? It's going to be hard to read. It's almost as bad as a budget book. If you look at fiscal year 11 budget on page 35 of the book, you see that the fiscal year 11 budget from the town appropriation, it's the very first line on there, is 36,888,000. So in here it says the town appropriation for fiscal year 11 budget was 36,888 for fiscal year 11. If you look at this, you see that the fiscal year 11 budget is 38,591. So that's a lot of money. If you look further along the line in the school department handout, you can see the fiscal year 13 budget all in the right-hand column, 44,642,000. That matches exactly to the vote we're going to take. If you look at the fiscal year 12 at 42,681, it matches exactly, but there's a couple $1 million missing in fiscal year 11's budget between this presentation and this presentation. Now, why do you care? Well, as you can see, maybe it's hard to see up there, but between fiscal year 11 and fiscal year 13, the town appropriation on a budgeted basis went up 21%. So that's a lot. You'll see in this budget book, we heard from the superintendent of schools that it went up 3.6% from fiscal year 12 to 13, but appropriation went up 21% on a budget-to-budget basis. And if you look down at the bottom, the fiscal year 11 budget of 44 million or so, there's actually, it was a good 8% increase from one year to the next. Last year, when you voted the budget for the school department, it wasn't that 48 million that you see there. It was significantly less, $5 million less. If you look on the next page, on page 37 of the school department handout, this is a cost center summary. Okay, so this is what they, and now they have fiscal year 11 expense. So just as a general point, a budget's a future-looking statement. It's a plan. Once the budget's happened, it doesn't make sense to talk about a budget anymore. You talk about what you spent. And so this is talking about what they spent. And if you go to the bottom of it, you'll see they said they spent 43,506,000. So that's about $1.3 million less than what they budgeted because of the overrun in fiscal year 10. So there was a decrease of $1.3 million at this town meeting, or a special town meeting, decreased the school budget in fiscal year 11. So from an actual expense in fiscal year 11, on an appropriated basis, to the budget of fiscal year 13, this school department budget's going up 25%. That's a lot, and now every year it's compounding on it. This is going to be the next override. You've got a 25% base growth in a year or 2 years, and every 3.5% on top of that is going to be compounded by that initial 25. I want to bring your attention back to page 35 for one more second. I promise I'll almost be done because this is sort of hard to follow. If you look back at page 35, you can see that the budget's $44 million. $50 million for this year. The budget was $44 million back in fiscal year 11. You got a bunch of columns in between, and we have like this thing saying a 1% mid-year increase, because that's what they gave for a salary increase. But no way do you see where the other, well, it's actually a 12% increase from an actual basis to a budgeted basis in this year. Where'd all that money go? It's a rhetorical question. I'll draw your attention, one last point I'm going to make, and then I'll leave you. If you go back to page 37, so this is expenses, and you look at the cost centers, and you look at cost center, high school, athletics, and you see the fiscal year 11 expense, and you see the fiscal year 13 budget, and you take a percentage change over 2 years. Well, the bottom line number, 43,505 to 50, is a 16% increase. So on average, 16% increase. If you sort these by percent change, athletics, number 2, goes from $674,000 in fiscal year 11 actual expense, and that's what they spent. And you look at fiscal year 13 for a budget at 584, that's a 13% decrease. So you have a 16% increase in this cost center budget on average. Some of these numbers are going up 40, 50%, and you see athletics down 13%. It's the second largest decrease. So I just want you to keep that in mind later when we talk about how much money is being spent on athletics. This is their own numbers. It went down 13%. I would like to direct a question to the moderator now. I said I wasn't going to ask a question, but can someone explain to me how in the school department budget book, the fiscal year 11 appropriation is registered as $36,888,000, and in the budget that we're going to vote on page B11, budget 20, it's $38,591,000. Mr. Moderator?
Johnson, can you explain the variation of those two numbers?
Diane Johnson, Chief Financial Officer. I believe the difference is the $38,591 in 2011 was the original town appropriation for in the spring meeting, and the $36,888 was the reduced town appropriation subsequent in the fall.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.